let's get into the 6 essentials of an aligned, sustainable, and profitable hypnosis business. My name is Penny Chiasson. I walked away from nurse anesthesia to go full-time in my hypnosis practice when it became very busy. And I'm going to share with you the things that I have learned so you don't make the same mistakes that I made, and you can get to 6 and multi-6 figures faster, more sustainably, and with less effort. There are so many different ways to approach running a business out there, to approach marketing. And in one of these videos in this series, I'm going to break down the different types of business that you could build, because there are certain things that are going to be our North Star. Now, I know that people talk about our North Star being our passion. Why are you doing it? And yes, that is part of it. But your business is about more than you, and you are more than your business. You are not one and the same. But there are some key things that are a part of every successful business. By all means, this list is not comprehensive, but as you're starting out, this is where you're going to be focusing, because if you're not focusing on the things I'm sharing with you, you're going to find very quickly you don't have a business, but instead you have a very expensive hobby. The first essential part of your aligned, sustainable, profitable business is you. Your self-care, what it is that you need to thrive, and also who it is that you need to be to build a successful business. Now, I have to share with you, I am a spiritual person, but let's really get down to something that the spiritual and manifestation community has contributed to the entrepreneur world. And that is that you can sit back, be in your being, set up your crystals, set your intention, and a successful business is going to fall in your lap. That is not true. And while intention and energy in who you are is a component, running a business takes work. There are things that you get to do that maybe you don't want to do them. However, as soon as you have money coming in, you can pay someone to do those things. And we'll talk about that more in the coming days. But the first part of the system is you. What do you need to thrive? If you are a stay-at-home mom and you have 3 kids, some in school, some not, what is going to look sustained, aligned, and profitable for you is going to look very different from someone else. There are people out there say, this is the only way to build a successful business. That's true for them. It might not be true for you, but there are things that we get to do to build that business, and every day we might not be lit up. We may not be excited. We may not be on fire for what we have to do that day. The key thing to always remember is that why, which I mentioned when we opened up, and to find a way to shift your state. And once you get your feet under you and you have a grasp of the things that I'm about to share with you, you will learn to put systems in place and to batch what you're doing so that you can be in that flow state, you can be in that creative state. But let me tell you, the things that will make your business the most successful are the boring, repetitive tasks, that consistency. And don't mistake boring and repetitive for no longer being passionate about your business. Some of those things you can hand off. Some of those things you're always going to want to keep your hand on until you get to a certain point, if that's your goal. The second thing you must have is an offer. What is an offer? So as a hypnotist, your offer is the transformation that you're selling. People don't buy hypnosis. They could give a rat's behind about hypnosis. But typically by the time they've come to a hypnotist, they are frustrated because nothing else is working to help them to address the issue they want solved. Hypnosis is simply the skill that you use, your gift, your art, to solve their problem. And this offer can look like a lot of different things. For a very long time, I was very attached and married to the one-on-one transformation. And that was because I had firsthand experience in knowing how that one-on-one transformation could not only impact areas of your life you never dreamed it would touch, but could literally save your life. Podcast episode 155. You can go take a listen, pennychiasson.com/155, and hear my story about how I shifted from using hypnosis from a helping someone move to a state of health and well-being with, be it pain, smoking, weight loss, whatever the case may be, to a personal development tool. Now, I still do some of those other things. It's not a forward-facing part of my business. People say, well, I can't focus on just one thing. I want to work on more than just one thing. You can do that. Because believe me, when I charge $15,000 for an 8 to 10 week full identity shift transformation for someone, people message me and say, hey, I see that you do this. This is not what I'm looking for. I'm dealing with this specific issue. Can you help with this? And then if I have room on my schedule and it is something I can help with and that person is in a position that they will get that transformation, I say yes, with the exception of weight loss. And I don't work with clients or people who are dealing with narcissistic personality disorder. And that's just a personal preference because of the energy that it takes to support someone in that space. There are people who have practices and they have real lived experience that allows them to be a better fit and more effectively hold that space for those people. The third thing you have to do is marketing. If you are not telling people who you are, what you do, how hypnosis transforms lives, how their lives can be better, nobody's going to be able to find you. Nobody's going to be able to find you. Marketing is a must. Number 4, sales. And people go, oh my God, I don't want to sell. Selling is gross. Selling is gross because you have a story about selling. If you are a parent, you sell every day of your life. And I never thought of it that way. But a mentor said that to me. When you had a kid and you're getting your kid to eat their vegetables, when you have a child and they're wanting to give up in a sport because they're frustrated, because they're not as good as they wanted to be, and you're coaching them and you're talking to them and getting them to see the positive side of just simply following through, you're in sales. You are selling them the idea of completion. You're selling them the idea of eating broccoli. No, thank you. Right? So we're always in sales. There is a very aligned and non-pushy way of selling. And then there is the slimy, pushy way of selling. How you sell depends on you. And believe me, there are people out there who, a couple of them are my mentors, and I've learned more than a few things from them that I never once felt sold to. And I dropped multiple 4 and or 5 figures. I was like, hey, can you take my money? It wasn't obvious, but they were selling. Okay? If you are not telling people how they can work with you, you will not be in business long. And again, you will have a very expensive hobby. 5, Another key is client delivery. And I'm going to put here retention. If you look in the description, there's a link to get a PDF, the 6 Essentials of an Aligned, Sustainable, Profitable Business. The retention isn't there. It's going to kind of flow into what's next, but what's next is more than just retention. But how are you going to work with your clients, right? And how you're going to work with your clients comes back to here. And I'm going to do a whole video on each one of these. Some of them may have more than one. So be sure to subscribe so that you can see those videos, because I'm really not going to hold back. In these videos, I can't teach you all the how, but I can get you on the track to understanding what it is that you need to know. And here's something else I'm going to tell you. I used to gaslight and berate myself because I would learn things in marketing, I would learn things in sales, I would learn things about my offer, and then 4 or 5 months later I would feel confused, and I'm like, you know what, something's not working, I can't figure out what it is. And I would go back and revisit something that I had learned, and it would be like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. It's so clear to me now. As adults, we have this insane idea that we learn instantly. That we learn it, we get it, and then we can just go do our thing. No, we build neurological pathways through repetition. The same thing goes for learned habits. Learned habits around the way we write. Learned habits around the way we craft an offer, or we tell somebody how they can work with us, as in sales. So you're going to want to come back and watch these videos over and over and over. And I'll probably do a video on some of my favorite resources to learn more about marketing, but don't expect any of this to be one and done, because it's like learning a new language, okay? And you ease into it. And as you get started, you're going to find that there are things that work better for you than others, and you're going to want to focus more attention on that. You may decide that you want to restructure your offer, you want to talk to a different audience, all of those things. So you want to revisit. This becomes just a new way of being for you. So client delivery, are you doing Zoom? Are you doing one-on-one? Are you doing groups? I'll do a whole video on this. And then when you're doing that client delivery, what are you doing on the back end? Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you know I rail against the idea that in coaching, if you've ever done any marketing training with business coaches and sales coaches and marketing coaches whose target market is other coaches, they talk about clients for life. They talk about clients for life. Where I've seen this show up in hypnosis is that I've had clients that I thought it was going to take several weeks to get them over the major hurdle. And then we would have a few weeks for integration and embodiment, because the level of work that my clients do, we're really digging deep into the foundation of their identity. We're not stopping smoking. We're not stopping chocolate cravings. So context is important here. But sometimes we'll do a first session and we'll do conversational hypnosis, and it will just be completely, totally mind-blowing. We've knocked all the legs out from under the table in one call. Well, does that mean we're done? No, it doesn't mean we're done within that container, because now this person has to create a new way of being in their mind. Now, with conversational hypnosis, most people will let people go away and process. And people just kind of figure it out on their own. The breakthrough's there. Go figure things out on your own. My clients don't want that. They want to learn how to hold healthy boundaries. They want to learn how to navigate their emotions. They want to master their emotions. They want to master their thoughts. They don't want to go back there again in some other area of their life. So I tend to sell things by the transformation. But then retention, my goal is to not have a client codependent on me. That's a very yucky feeling. It's happened a couple of times. And my goal is to have people be self-sufficient. However, some people simply want to keep evolving and peeling the onion. So after a lot of playing the last few years, and when I say playing, I don't mean goofing off, I mean just really tinkering with and seeing what's worked best, I've created Catalyst Recalibrated, which is a 1-year mentorship where through the mind, body, spirit, self-hypnosis I teach, they continue to peel layers, but they're not those critical layers. And they have me side by side with them in a group setting in the embodiment of the identity that they've chosen to become. And if they decide they want to up-level that identity again, they're learning how to do it on their own. So retention can look like a lot of different things. The point I was making is that what I see some hypnotists doing, hypnosis is very fast, but I've noticed in some circles that I'm in, there are people saying, oh yeah, tell people it takes 18 to 20 sessions. 18 to 20 sessions for what? The most sessions I have ever done with a client was 12. And we worked through what took 11 years of therapy, got her nowhere, and there were 2 crises that came up in her life. And in those 12 sessions, we did sessions around those crises that came up in her life. 12 sessions. Okay, and we were dealing with money, we were dealing with people pleasing, we were dealing with boundaries. That was not a single issue, but there are people who will do 18 to 20 sessions for a single issue. Without more knowledge than that, I really can't pass judgment on that. And then number 6, you want recurring revenue. And there are some things that recurring revenue is, and there are some things that it is not, but they kind of get lumped in together. I'll do a video on that because no matter how you look at number 1, this is going to stabilize your nervous system. This is going to help you be in a place where you are not chasing, hustling, or grinding. So this is your 6 essentials for an aligned, sustainable, and profitable hypnosis business. Again, as I said before, it's not everything, but these are the essentials. And I'll see you in the next video. So be sure to like, subscribe, and ask me your questions below, because as I go through this series, I will be more than happy to answer your questions in the videos to come.